Welcome. I'm Cheryl Mitchell, the president of Treleven, which is a retreat and learning center located on a sheep farm here in Addison County. And it's been our absolute thrill to be partnering with Building Bright Futures here in Addison County and also Let's Grow Kids in order to really deeply explore what's going on for children and their families in our community. Because we really feel that the ways our communities support families with young children is one of the most important investments we can all make in the well-being of our future. And I am thrilled to have two experts here with me today. One is Sue White, who's the director of the Quarry Hill School, but she's here in many capacities. Sue and I have known each other forever. And Meg Baker, who's the preschool coordinator for Addison County. So welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We thought we might start with you, Meg, if that's okay.
That's fine.
And probably we'll launch into talking, about universal pre-K.
Okay.
What is it? How does it happen? How can parents get involved? Which programs, whatever you want to say about it.
Okay.
Okay?
Great. So universal pre-K was established through a law that was passed actually last year, Act 166, which set up publicly funded pre-K programming with so that the public education dollars, school-based dollars, could fund pre-K services in a variety of settings. And this was sort of a sequel to a law that had come before it. But what we're talking about now is what is in existence. So the law was passed in 2014, and some programs, some supervisory unions chose to implement that this school year. Most school districts and most supervisory unions chose to wait until next school year. So beginning with this fall, the school year that's coming in 2016, 2017, all 3, 4, and 5-year-old children who are enrolled in what's called a pre-qualified program will have access to 10 hours a week of publicly funded pre-K.
Great. So let's break that down.
Yeah.
So it's all 3, 4, and 5-year-olds?
All 3, 4, and 5-year-olds who are not enrolled in kindergarten, there is a cutoff date, so the same date that is used for kindergarten enrollment, it's September 1st here in Addison County, is being used. Your child has to have been turned 3 by September 1st.
Okay. And at least 10 hours a week of public pre-K.
Right.
Could be happening in a school, could be happening in a child care program, where could it happen?
It can happen in a range of different kinds of programs. So there are programs that are happening at schools in our area that may, just offer that free 10-hour-a-week program, or in some cases offer a longer school day. There are 10 hours a week that may be happening at centers. There are also some home-based programs that offer those 10 hours a week. The key is that those 10 hours are free for families.
And what does it mean that it's free for families? Do families pay for it and then get a check back, or what happens?
Those families will see a tuition reduction in the way that those so they won't be billed for those. The supervisory union, the family fills out an application, and the supervisory union pays that provider directly.
Right. And how does this happen? Is that you? How do parents know that this is available to them? How do they know which is a pre-qualified program that they could choose? And how do they know if they've been accepted?
Well, so there are several different questions, I think, embedded in there. Okay. The first step that all families will want to choose is finding a pre-qualified provider, and that may be a program that their child is already attending. We have a bunch of programs that, they may have toddlers, and when you move into pre-K, they are already a pre-qualified provider. So there's the Bright Futures information system online, has a list of pre-qualified providers. There's also a list at the website Middlebury of currently pre-qualified providers, and I think that's coming at the end.
So that will come at the end. So,
Yep.
for example, if a child's already enrolled at Mary Johnson.
Mary Johnson or Otter Creek are two of the larger, Bristol Family Center. Those are all pre-qualified providers. Quarry Hill, yep. And so those programs may already have kids, and beginning with this school year, those programs will help families fill out the application form. If you have a child who's not currently enrolled in one of those pre-qualified programs, the first step is figuring out where you want to enroll your child for next year.
And parents have free choice? Can they go to any pre-qualified program?
Any
or does it have to be in
pre-qualified.
the town that their kindergarten's in?
It does not. So they can go anywhere in the state. So there are families who live here in Middlebury but work up in Burlington, for example, and if they have their child enrolled in a program in Burlington that is pre-qualified, those tuition dollars will follow them for next year. And so and programs have to go through pieces to become pre-qualified. So the pre-qualified piece means that somebody at the state level has taken a look at their program and said that they meet certain quality standards on this. You know, they have a licensed teacher. They have at least 3 stars using the step ahead recognition system, and they're using the Vermont Early Learning Standards. And assessment tool called TS Gold.
Cool. And what is your role in this, Meg? Are you are you making it happen for everybody, or?
Yeah. So I work with Addison Northwest, which is the Virgins area, with Addison Northeast, which is the Bristol area, and with Addison Central, which is the Middlebury area, supervisory unions, and we are. Addison Northeast has fully implemented the law as of this year, and the other 2 supervisory unions will have implemented this coming fall. And so we've been making sure that the contracts with programs are set up, looking at forms for families and, you know, consistency across all of those supervisory unions so that we can handle all of the paperwork and the money so that it's easy for everybody.
Yeah, coordinating between the SUs, the supervisory unions, and all the partnering programs, which may or may not be housed within those SU schools and programs, Meg's been really great in bringing us all to the table and supporting the coordination and collaboration.
So right now we have about...
Is there a Meg in every county, or is this the only county that's doing that for all the supervisory unions?
You know, things are set up differently in every region, and as far as I'm aware, there's not precisely this setup anywhere else. But there are similar kinds of positions where there's early childhood specific roles for in other areas of the state, and other collaborative agreements between supervisory unions as well. Around early childhood.
And it also seems to me that Middlebury, we interviewed them a while back, is somewhat unusual too. So there's a sort of a one-stop shop for parents in this county to learn about these things.
That's what we're hoping, yeah.
Okay. So before we move on to Sue, how did you get into doing this? Were you a child care teacher?
Well, actually, I've been home for a long time with my kids. And prior to that, I worked up in Franklin and Grand Isle counties doing what then was Success by 6, and advisory council kinds of working with early childhood programs up there. And then since I've been down here, I've mostly been home with kids and...
With preschoolers.
With preschoolers, little kids, and with foster parents and that kind of thing.
Are you foster parents?
Yeah.
Wow. So how many kids are at your house at dinner?
Right now we have 3.
Well, we'll come back to you in a minute, but let's maybe have Sue fill in some background for us. You've been doing preschool in this county for, dare I say,
30 years.
Yeah,
okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about your history? And
So Quarry Hill School is a pre-K program, and I've been involved in it through the history of state-supported kindergarten and the implementation of kindergartens in all of our public schools, and having watched this pre-K come to fruition over time. As Meg said, there was a law that has played out over the last decade or so, and it is finally, Quarry Hill's now on board, feeling like it truly is a law that is implementing universal access. The real goal is universal access to quality pre-K for all of our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. It's really exciting. So next year at Quarry Hill, we have 36 kids this year, and hopefully next year we'll have a similar number, and all of them will be able to draw down this funding for 10 hours of their time with us. Some of them may come just about 10 hours. Some of them may come longer, you know, for longer days to support families' working schedules and things like that. But it's going to be a real boon, real support for both the family and to support our programs with these dollars that support quality around licensure, around making sure our curriculum is aligning with kind of those universal goals of what a quality early childhood program is.
So could one of you say, so what's the difference? Quality preschool, 4 stars, 5 stars. Is this anything new under the sun, or is it just different requirements?
Well, I think that where this law came from is a recognition that early education really matters in terms of the grand scheme of you know, prevention and where kids end up and all of the pieces around education later on and early brain development and those pieces. So I think that's where this came from. There's also a recognition buried within the law that the quality of that early care and education really matters, and that there's some solid research around
how that's done,
what that looks like.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to say is folding the huge initiative of Let's Grow Kids on top of this, and building bright the Let's Grow Kid, Building Bright Futures, Universal Pre-K, all of those things comes together at this point in time that really brings to light the importance of early childhood education and early development. Between what we know from science and between what we know from what works in classrooms and in early education centers, where kids are really, really doing a lot of learning and growing before they ever hit a kindergarten classroom. And we've been doing it all these years. Exactly. And to have the science collide with the dollars, to collide with the momentum in our communities is really a pretty wonderful thing. I'm really excited about it.
Is it making any difference for Quarry Hill, or just providing a new funding stream? Well,
it's a funding stream, and I really feel like the piece around awareness is what, for me, is significant. And, you know, it kind of dovetails me into this other piece of what's happening right now, the month of the young child. And if April, it's a month in our whole nation where it's the month of the young child, where we come together to bring the importance of early childhood and children's development to light in our communities. So one of the other hats that I wear as part of the Addison County Directors Network, we've created a county-wide exhibit this month where children's artwork and documentation of their work and play and learning, where they spend their days, is front and center on the main streets of Virgins and Bristol and Middlebury for the month. So we hope that our children and their families will be able to see their work showcased, and it will be an opportunity for businesses to say, wow, this is going in our communities, and now it's in my window. And where does your child go, maybe, from the people who work in their businesses with them? So it's been really exciting that this all comes together.
I love it. I love the way that you've been at the center of, for all these years. I remember working with Quarry Hill when you first had artists in the school. You're a farm-based program, and have been a lot of my kids'
peers,
friends, kids are now there with you, and
the next ones, the next generation is really on board.
It feels so much more supported in our community.
It does, and I think what we need to do is continue to support these families, because it's probably harder than it was when you know, this generation was growing up. It's harder now for them to try to balance their work life, their family life, and what they need to do for their children in a really thoughtful and mindful way for what's best for not only their work life, but their children's life and their family life. And that's the constant juggle.
And reaching every child, including
Right.
kids who may not have had access in the past,
Right.
is I think part of the goal of the legislation.
Is there an aggressive outreach effort going on here in the county to make sure that every family knows that they have this available to them?
Well, we're doing the best we can, you know, with between play group activities and the Middlebury. I do think that we're really, really fortunate to have Eliza doing the work that she's doing with Middlebury, but just trying to point people and know who, you know, if there's someone, maybe the Vermont Bookshop where Quarry Hill's art exhibit is right now, maybe now somebody will say, oh, well, what about, do you know anything about this this universal pre-K? And Becky can say, well, why don't you call Sue? I'm sure she knows. You know, just kind of expanding our loops of connectivity.
Yeah.
And we are reaching out through the schools and also through, you know, the Addison Independent and
Right.
various other
As much
kinds
as
of
we
sources. Yeah. I mean, I think
What do you anticipate? Do you think that every parent will have heard about it and they will have signed up with their school and said, yeah, I want that for my child?
I don't know that it'll be every parent. I think that, you know, one of the issues that we have in Addison County is that right now, in terms of capacity, we don't actually have the capacity to serve every child at a pre-qualified program. Even if every child signs up, one of the things that we're really hoping is that we will be able to build that capacity over the next few years. The more people who do sign up, the more need we can document, the more likely it is that we'll be able to open the kinds of programs that families need. Because this is one of the complicated things, is some programs are looking for full-time care for their children because they have to work. Some families really just want those free 10-hour
pre-K. Yeah.
pre-K time. And it's unclear what kinds of programs we're going to need. So until we really know what the need is, it's going to be hard to adjust the system to meet everybody's needs.
So if a parent goes to the school and says, yes, I'd like my 3-year-old to participate, could they potentially be told, well, the capacity doesn't exist yet? Put you on a waiting list for next year?
Right, well, and that's what we're finding, and I believe that as we prepare for the fall and are hosting visiting families, there is more interest, and the families that are coming across our threshold are saying, yes, I've heard about that, can you tell me more? And at that point, we explain to them what the configuration is, and we also say we're going to do our best to accommodate as many kids as we can for that 10 hours a week. And whether we'll be at Quarry Hill specific, whether we'll be able to accommodate all of them, I will know in 2 weeks. And you know, by the end of April, I think there's going to be a general sense countywide of how many spots have been filled and how many requests have been made, and we can get a sense of where we are with that.
But I mean, I think any family who has been looking for childcare ever would tell you that there's a wait list.
Yeah.
It's hard to find, and there, you know, most of the larger programs do have waiting lists.
And we have this resource now through Middlebury that parents know pretty quickly where they can go to look.
Right,
Right.
right. And the other place that people can go for more information would be the resource center that's housed at Mary Johnson.
Child care
Research and
yeah.
Research and Referral.
You also mentioned that you were part of the Directors Network,
Right.
and that you've been working with businesses. And I'm curious
Right.
if you think this sort of countywide effort to help highlight what's going on in the early years is also going to result in businesses being more supportive of child care programs.
That is definitely our hope, and it's been something that our group, which has maybe 15 to 20 regular members who have similar roles as I do in different child care educational centers, and we have been working on creating that outreach, creating that relationship between businesses. When our families with young children are healthy and strong, our businesses flourish. And so it's been a dialogue and an informational back and forth. And what we are on the very brink of launching is a collaboration called, and we've dubbed it the Community Potluck Fund.
Okay.
So what the idea is that the early education community brings early education to our communities, and the business communities bring what they can. They bring what they do best. So the idea is maybe our local businesses can support early childhood in a multitude of different ways. They could maybe provide discounts for things in early education classrooms, or they could provide opportunities for families to have a place to, even a changing table in their bathroom. You know, there are lots of different ways. You know, maybe it's a way to support early educators. You can come to our restaurant and maybe you can have a little discount, if you know, for a break, and it expands out into maybe there's a pool of money ultimately to support professional development so that these quality programs continue to flourish, or maybe there's a way to support families in bridging the gap between 10 hours and 35 hours a week of childcare around supporting tuition. And we're still talking about all the different ways that a true potluck can bring to a banquet of opportunity. So that's,
I love the title. When you first mentioned it, I thought, what is that about?
right. Well, the idea, well, it's hard to, you know, you can come up with an acronym, or you could come up with children this, children that, but the idea that we all need to be invested in,
And we have some different things that
and we have
bring
different
in.
things that we can bring to it.
Oh, okay. You had mentioned, for example, the Vermont Bookshop was going to be hosting an art display. Can you mention a few other businesses around the county that are going to be displaying?
Well, downtown Middlebury, I was on my way here in a little bit too much of a hurry. I wish I'd been able to park at the post office and actually walk. But I know that there's work at the Museum of the Morgan Horse. There's work at the Vermont Bookshop. There's an incredible exhibit, a collaborative exhibit, downstairs here at the Ilsley of canvases that have come from child care places, early education places all over the county, which is exciting. In Bristol, you can walk down Main Street, stop at the bakery and see some artwork there, or stop for a toner cartridge at Kimball's Office Supply, and there's work there. And the same is true in Virgins.
Cool. So let's take a little side road and go back. When did you move to this county, and how did you get involved in
to this county? I moved to
early
this
education?
county as a college student.
Middlebury?
Middlebury College. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be placed in my early education, or my elementary education teacher certification program at Quarry Hill. And I have been there
when Sue Borg was still
when
there?
Sue Borg was there, and there were some staffing changes during my professional teaching semester, and I've been there ever since. And it's been, what's beautiful about it is that it's been a career for me. I've been able to really lock in to my work there, loving my work with children. And one of the reasons I continue and am now deeper into this work at a different level with other educators is I want there to be a sense and an ability for people to be career early educators. And that's a challenge, and there's a turnover aspect to it, there's a burnout aspect to it, there's a low pay aspect to it, and at this point in my career I really want to try to make a difference for the professionals who are in the field.
I love that phrase, career early educators. It seems like this is such a
It's kind of a non sequitur.
wise time to really be thinking about how we can support that, especially with Act 166 and you know, things that are going on in higher education.
And you can, the state of Vermont does issue a professional teaching licensure, birth to 8. There's a real acknowledgement that there's a lot of education that happens during those years. And we all know that, but I think there's this sense of we need to really, and we've been working on it in the field as far as raising the bar, but at this point we need to support our educators with that.
And if you think about, you know, what kids need is they're looking for that sense of continuity. And so the more that we can support, you know, a lower turnover in staff and you know, an increased professional development for those staff so that they don't, you know, so that they have the training, they don't leave for, you
Makes
know,
a big difference.
It makes a big difference for those kids.
We're going to have to close in a minute or two. Is there something that you both or either of you wanted to say that I forgot to ask?
I guess I would just say, you know, for families who are looking for pre-K, they are absolutely wanting to look for pre-K now.
Now.
That's a great
point. Like April,
Mhm.
like
Yes.
tomorrow.
Like tomorrow.
Like if
Okay.
they haven't done it, they should have done it, be doing it
Right.
this week.
Are you okay if they call you, Meg, or should they go directly to their school and say, "Hey, I need pre-K"?
I would say they should go to the program where they want to enroll.
Where they want to enroll.
That program will help them fill out any paperwork that needs to happen.
And the list of qualified programs is on Middlebury.
Yes,
Middlebury.
that's right.
Okay.
And so they are welcome to call or email me, but going to the program where they
Going
want
right
to
to
enroll.
their program, filling out the forms, getting it going.
Exactly.
Good idea.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And are there other events coming up for this month of the young child? That I know there'll be the art displays everywhere. Sometimes there's a fair, sometimes there's this, that, and the other.
Right. Well, you know, it can be so unpredictable. It's snowing today, right, April in Vermont. What the Directors Network is hoping to do is an event, maybe a street event later in the season, and whether it's late spring or even early summer, but to, again, bring families together, bring businesses together, bring children out, so that we can really just keep it in the forefront that our kids are part of our community and we really need to care and support them and their families.
So let's close with, you've been here for a long time. Do you have dreams for new things you hope are happening, or do you feel like everything's in play now and it just needs a little time to bubble and help?
I'm excited about moving this community potluck forward, and you know, there's a really fledgling website that's built. It talks about the businesses, it talks about the children, it talks about the professional educators, and I'm hoping that's my moving forward dream.
Okay, well,
And my hope would be that we can reach out to get pre-K options available to every child who
Every
wants
child.
it.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think
exactly.
we can do it. Yeah, we've done it.
That's the
Okay.
plan.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Megan. Thank you,
welcome.
Sue, both so
Thank you.
much. Your information is going to be up in just a minute, but before we put that up, I just wanted to thank our producer today, who's Dana Anderson. Dana is the coordinator of the Building Bright Futures Council for Addison County, and she's working with Kurt Broderson, who does so many things here at Middlebury Community Television and also for Ilsley Library. If you have a nonprofit and you'd like to get information out to the public, Kurt is a fabulous person to work with. Just call him up, let him know what you're thinking about, and he will help you to create your own show the way he's helped Dana to create her own show.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for watching us today. Contact information is coming up in just a minute. We hope you'll watch our next show.